What's up, guys? Do you guys remember MySpace? I don't know, some of you guys are probably too young or too old, I suppose. And I'm somewhere in the middle, so I remember MySpace. And I remember when it died, and I remember when Facebook kind of took over. I was just having a conversation with a friend, actually, on the phone a little while ago, like a couple hours ago, actually, and we were talking about how, I forget how MySpace even got brought up, but I think I was talking about, like, kids in elementary school and stuff. A lot of them have smartphones, and I was just wondering, do they use them during class? I mean, they're probably not supposed to, but what about recess? Do kids just get out at recess and then, like, instead of playing on the play structure, do they just get on TikTok or Instagram or something like that? Because that probably happens a little bit. I don't know if that's normal or common, or if it depends on the school and rules, and I'm sure rules are different depending on the school, and maybe some let you use it at recess and some don't. I'm curious what the rules and stuff on that are, actually. I might call around or ask around and try to do a little bit of research and see what kind of answers I get. But I'm very curious, because when I grew up, at least in elementary school and stuff, having a cell phone was not common. Certainly not smartphones. I'm not even sure smartphones were really a thing at the time, and if they were absolute garbage compared to how they are now. And at that time also, they didn't really have applications in the way that they do, and there was very little to no social media. Just everything that's like a part of our day-to-day life on the computer and on our phones right now just wasn't even a thing at the time. And if it did exist, it really wasn't relevant, like YouTube and whatnot, you know. And man, I was just thinking about how different the MySpace days were compared to the Facebook days, and then, you know, after Facebook for a while, now there's just so much more media consumption to be done online, and, you know, in a social way a lot of the times. But the MySpace days were different because, in a way, it was kind of sweet. Like, you just had this basic-ass profile, and did they even really have status updates? I'm trying to look at these pictures and kind of piece things together, but a profile maybe looked something like this. And this is a terrible looking profile, but I think looking back, a lot of the profile customizations just looked really bad, because it sort of had this dial-up type aesthetic still. This is still like kind of the older days of the internet in a way. But you had a friends list, and I think you could show like the top 4 or the top 8 or something, so that created like a little bit of competition on people's profiles to maybe, you know, if you're really close friends with somebody and they put you in their top 4 or whatever like that, and you didn't, maybe it would be a little bit of weird, but it was kind of this maybe tension you wouldn't actually talk about. I'm sure some people acted like they didn't care, but they did care. And outside of that, I'm not really sure there was much toxicity on MySpace, just because it was so basic. But the reason I thought it would be interesting to talk about this is because that's so random. Chris D'Elia's top 8 on MySpace. He's like that canceled comedian that's sort of coming back. I brought him up in another video of mine, I think, that I just uploaded, funny enough. That's probably a coincidence that came up. Just trying to look at some pictures here that really bring back some memories of what MySpace used to look like. But yeah, I mean, you used to be able to drop in some kind of HTML type code, and it would customize your profile to have certain layouts and colors and whatever. And God, this looks terrible, but that is really how some people's profiles would look. So you can see here is the friends list, and I guess your profile picture. It would say things like what your last login was, and I guess some like basic location information. And I thought one thing that was really kind of sweet is that you'd have your favorite song on your profile somewhere. So you check someone's profile out, and you just like see who their closest friends are according to their friends list, and you know, whatever little things they might share about themselves, but also whatever their favorite song at the time might have been. And I thought that that's just cool. You log in and you see what somebody's favorite music is, and, you know, that's kind of genuine and sweet. But, man, it's so different now, because now you have, like, these refined and perfected algorithms that have basically been designed to, like, maximize the addictive qualities of social media. And so you get algorithms that, you know, really pander or cater to things like narcissism or insecurity. And it's created this culture online of people that really only maybe show like a highlight reel of their life. They don't really show your day-to-day stuff because, you know, to some degree, like, who wants to see the day-to-day boring stuff? But also, like, why wouldn't somebody want to present only the best examples of their life? You know, that's like maybe just how you want to be seen or how you want to be perceived, but also maybe to some degree what you feel is like what people want to see or something. And a ton of people quit social media partly just because when, you know, it's easy to like scroll on somebody's profile and it looks like they're doing really well. They're getting a lot of love and attention on their comments because, you know, maybe they graduated college or they got a job or they got married or had kids or some other thing that makes you feel like this person's life is really all together, or they got a nice new car or something like that, you know? Could be anything. Those are kind of generic ideas, but those are common, you know, life checkpoints that a lot of people have that, you know, if you're scrolling through your feed and it's on a day that you're not feeling so good about maybe where you're at, maybe it might just be a mood thing, or maybe, you know, you're kind of down about where you're actually at and it's more legitimate, but, you know, scrolling through on your Facebook feed and whatnot, you can just see like highlight reels of people's lives, and then you look at yourself and you're just like, man, what am I doing wrong? And so a lot of people quit because they just feel like that all the time, because people are presenting unrealistic examples of what their life is actually like. Sometimes they just lie, you know? Sometimes they just lie. They got filters and, you know. But for the most part, just only showing the highlight reel is enough to kind of synthesize what your life looks like versus what it's actually like. And there's a lot more to it than just that, but that's one obviously unhealthy dynamic that modern social media has created. And so more recently, maybe in the last few years, I feel like Facebook has become less and less relevant. And I think a lot of people don't post status updates regularly like they used to. People used to do all these things, like they'd check into their location and post where they're at, just to, you know, maybe show off that they're here or there. Status updates and pictures and profile pictures would be posted much more frequently. But then I feel like it kind of went from that to sharing a lot of like politically triggering stuff. And maybe that went on for a couple of years or so, and then slowly but surely less and less people were engaging with Facebook. I mean, that's my personal observation, and I've also had a lot of conversations about that, and that seems to be sort of how things played out if you trace the breadcrumbs back to how we got to where we're at now. And so where we're at now, I feel like people maybe use Facebook about 10% as much as they might have, 5 years ago or so. And I guess there's still a tendency to like mindlessly scroll a little bit, but I personally don't even have the Facebook app on my phone most of the time. I usually have it disabled, but sometimes I use it for the marketplace. So it has like this utility that I turn to it for. I don't really have like an addictive relationship with Facebook, maybe more or less like I used to. And that's partly because it got so bad and annoying that I just realized like, this is terrible. I need to get this out of my life. It's like not bringing me anything good, but I still want to stay in touch with my friends. And I think a few years back, Facebook actually separated itself from Facebook and Messenger. So now that those are two separate applications, you don't have to use your Facebook profile just to send messages and whatnot. So that might have been like some insight that Facebook had. They could see that maybe people are disengaging with Facebook, but they want the utility of it. And in order to sort of salvage what they can, they separated the two apps, and then people kept their Facebook profiles, but maybe use Messenger more than they use actual Facebook. And they also acquired Instagram. They acquired WhatsApp. Instagram has become like a more addictive social media app than Facebook has. I think a lot of people turned to Instagram from Facebook because Instagram was a little more simple. It didn't have all these like status updates and comment threads, and anytime you liked something or posted something, it didn't necessarily share it to all your friends. Whereas Facebook would, like, all your activity was more or less like kind of curated and became a part of the news feed. Whereas your Instagram's news feed is only what your friends decide to share directly with people who follow you. So like your stories and the pictures that you post on your feed or whatever, that's all that people see. They can't really just go to your profile and then see what kind of pages you commented on or whatever, and get engaged with your comment threads and whatnot. So there's more privacy and more simplicity with Instagram, but I do think that Instagram has definitely made an effort to become a more addictive platform than it used to be. They implemented stories, which sort of took a page from Snapchat's, what do you want to call it? Snapchat's, I guess, edge, you know? Every platform has like something about it that makes it unique, and Snapchat was that, you know, you just upload that picture or video or whatever it is, and it only lasts for so long. And I was never a Snapchat guy. I was kind of repulsed by Snapchat. Most of these things I was kind of repulsed by initially. I think when Instagram first came out, it just grossed me out. Like hashtag this, hashtag that. Like everybody would post a picture and they'd like share it from their Instagram onto their Facebook, and you would just look at a post of like, you know, some girl, maybe a friend of yours, a girl on a bikini at a beach, and then it'd be like hashtag beach, hashtag sun, hashtag California, hashtag sand on my feet, hashtag bikini, hashtag warm weather, hashtag summer, hashtag, you know what I mean? And it's just like, ugh, God, shut the hell up already. That is so annoying. So that was kind of how I viewed Instagram, as just these super dumb, like cancerous use of hashtags, just like, you know, blanketing whatever's going on in the background in the most like mindless way. Now I sort of appreciate it a little more, and I don't think it's quite that annoying these days, but my perspective on it has also changed a little bit. But yeah, I think they've made Instagram more annoying. You scroll in your feed, you see a lot of sponsored posts, and in the stories as well, you see like an ad every few whatevers. So it's changed, but my point is that I think a lot of people left Facebook for similar reasons to why I left it, and they went from Facebook to Instagram. Facebook made the move to acquire Instagram, and they've turned Instagram into a platform that is similarly addicting to how Facebook was, but kind of in a new way. And I don't know, social media is a funny thing. Like, obviously it has all this utility, but a lot of that utility is kind of used in a way to just maximize addictive qualities and keep you glued to your phone as much as possible, acquire as much data about you as possible so that they can sell it to companies and maximize ad revenue potential. There's all this data that's really valuable that they can gather, and you know, that's a whole other conversation in itself. But, you know, on an individual level, it really just kind of comes down to, like, are you on your phone too much? And for me, I am, for sure. YouTube is probably a bigger issue for me than Instagram. Facebook is kind of irrelevant to me now, so I hardly ever use it. And Instagram is maybe somewhere in the middle, depending on the day. To some degree, I have to use it for certain things that I do. And other times, I'm certainly just mindlessly scrolling through people's stories and maybe the feed a little bit. But I've gotten better at like not looking at the stuff Instagram tries to feed into my feed, I should say, shove into my feed. Yeah. So I guess if I was to try to circle around to the beginning of this conversation, I wanted to ask you, like, what is your perspective on Myspace? Did you have a profile or did you not? Like, and if you didn't, I wonder what your impression of it even was, or is. And what's your relationship with social media? Like, you know, maybe pick your top 3 platforms. What do you use, and in what order? Is it like YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat? Maybe you're still on Facebook and you don't use anything else. Maybe you've unplugged and you email your friends or text them. Some people have done that. I know some more friends over time seem to sort of go off the grid in that way, and I commend them. And I don't know anyone out there. It's kind of like cigarettes. It's like if you don't have an Instagram, I don't smoke cigarettes, but it's like if you don't have an Instagram, a lot of people are like, oh, well, maybe don't get one then, you know? Maybe you're better off not trying it. Or just not having one. And I think I sort of stand by that too, but yeah. I have mixed reasons to keep it and delete everything. I mean, ultimately, it's just like I need to develop a healthier relationship with it. And hopefully that doesn't mean I have to delete everything, you know? But there's like a healthy dose of it to do, and there's a healthy relationship to have with social media, but the algorithms make that hard, and that's intentional. It's definitely intentional. So, and also, you know, if you're younger, if you're like 15 or younger or whatever, I'm curious, like, what was your introduction to social media like? Did you have a smartphone? Do you have one now? Do you bring it to school? Do you have it on at school? What do you observe that you or your friends do at recess if you're at a age in school where recess is still a thing? Yeah, I'm very curious about that. I know right now it's kind of like mid-pandemic still, so depending on where you live and whatnot, I'm sure you might just be doing school digitally over video stuff, or maybe you're actually present for school, or maybe you remember what school was like before the pandemic, and you can kind of get into that a little bit too. So just wanted to see what kind of conversations we can have in the comment section on this video, because I'm very curious. And I'll probably try to do some kind of follow-up thing. I might even call some of the schools, just random schools, and see what the rules are regarding cell phones and stuff. I'm very, very curious, because even just Googling some of this stuff, the data that I'm getting is just like ridiculous and kind of meaningless. So I'm not really getting any helpful information. So I figured I might just start asking people more directly. Call some schools and see what their rules are, and understand them a little better. Does it depend on their age, or is it just up to the parents, or is it allowed at recess? Is it not allowed at recess? Do they turn their phones in, or do they just turn them off? Yeah, I'm curious, and also if they have any idea of like how many people at what age have a cell phone that they bring to school. And I'm sure it really depends, because when I grew up, like, smartphones weren't even a technology that really existed, and by the time that they were starting to become more normalized, they were changing so quickly. Like every year or two, smartphones were, exponentially better than they were. And I think back to some pretty cool phones, like the T-Mobile Sidekick. That was such a legendary phone, and I wanted one at the time. And to some degree, I wish that T-Mobi Sidekick. I'm so awesome on the keyboard, guys. Yeah, it was a phone that kind of looked like this. Having the full keyboard is actually really cool in some ways. Touch screens have obviously gotten a lot better with time, but something about just having the full keyboard in that is so quick. And that was really innovative at the time, because you used to just have a regular brick phone with the T9 on the keyboard, so you just had the number pad that would guess whatever text you were trying to send. So when this came out, it was like a full-blown keyboard, and that was much faster. And I think that was, in a way, that was kind of like a peak that cell phones hit. But that technology got replaced by just regular touchscreen phones. And, there's like a small group of people that missed the full keyboards, but most people just kind of went with the modern technology, because it's like the newer phones had a lot of other better stuff going for it. Like, you might have lost the keyboard or something, but maybe the phone is lighter, the battery life is twice as good, and the camera's like 10 times nicer or something. So why would you get a T-Mobile Sidekick type thing? But I'm sure cell phone manufacturers got tired of manufacturing things with the keyboard. Like, for them, it was probably really nice to not have to manufacture keyboards. And they tried to bring this back a couple times, but it never really clicked. They tried to bring back this phone by BlackBerry called the Priv, and I had that phone for a little bit because I wanted to check it out. Really cool phone, but I think, it's hard to say. Having this phone actually made me realize, like, maybe I don't miss the physical keyboard quite as much. This phone was dope because, how old is this phone? Like 4 years old, 5 years old? It was cool because the keyboard was also touch sensitive, so you could open this up and use the keyboard kind of like a mouse pad to scroll on the screen. So you could actually scroll on the screen if you wanted to without touching it, and that was kind of dope. But in reality, I remember having the phone for a little while and then just kind of like not using the touch keyboard sometimes, because I didn't want to flip it open, and I use the swipe keyboard on my phone, so I just kind of touch a key and drag my finger around like that. And I guess maybe I'm just more accustomed to that. Maybe moving away from a physical keyboard was the right move. It's hard to say, but I guess there's a reason that technology kind of faded out into the abyss. Yeah. Well, that was an interesting little conversation. So thanks for sticking around. If you watch the whole thing, I know we got a little sidetracked at the end talking about the T-Mobile Sidekick and keyboard phones and whatnot, but it's kind of relevant with eras I'm talking about. These keyboard phones were popular around the time that smartphones were becoming regular. Like, these were sort of the first examples of nice smartphones, but it was still before like Facebook and YouTube and using your phone to navigate while you're driving were regular things. Those were those were not really developed at the time. It wasn't until a few years after these phones were common that those apps became more regular. But I think by the time that they did, these phones were already getting, you know, sort of squeezed out of the picture, and then it was just all touchscreens from there. So yeah, a little bit of a timeline for you. Let me know what you think, and yeah, tell me about your social media relationships in the comments, and let me know a little bit about who you are if you're comfortable to, just to give me some perspective on what angle you're coming at it from. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the comments. I'll see you guys in a future video. Definitely like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this and just show the channel some love, because it definitely helps me out. And yeah, we're trying to grow this channel. All right, well, I'll see you guys in a future video. Thanks for watching, and yeah, I'll leave it at that. Those are my final words. All right, take care. Bye. This is where I fade out the video, but I let the music keep playing because it's kind of a less abrupt fade out. Let's turn the music up a little bit. This is for the people that are watching all the way to the end. Listening to some lo-fi. Just random lo-fi music from a live YouTube station. Hopefully that doesn't get you know, copyright blocked or something for this video. Usually that doesn't happen. Alright guys, you know what to do. I'll catch you later. Thanks for watching. Bye.